Good afternoon in this session on digital transformation in the public sector. And today with me is Elena Deambrogio. And we have known each other for quite a long time, I think about 10 years. And, and I think this is going to be a good workshop. First of all, I'll give you an overview of how we actually view digital transformation and the importance of challenge-based public-private partnership. And Elena has a fine example of the city of Torino. And but I'll start with my presentation. Elena, can you give the first slide?
Here
Yeah,
it
this is.
is.
Thank you so much. Well, this is actually if you want to get in touch with me later on, then these are my credentials. And then the next one. Yeah, this is actually interesting to view because um, I work actually for the Ministry of the Interior and Kingdom Relations, and we are responsible for digital transformation in the public sector. And in Dutch, we have a name called NL Digibator, and we really think that innovation is important, challenge-based innovation. But we do it in a very specific way, and this is really the European competitive edge. We hold public values and human rights, yeah, it as very important. And what we also try to achieve to do it in a human-centric and inclusive way. Those are really important issues that you can read about in the paper all the time. And of course, yeah, this is really what we want to be ready for the future and to do that in learning by doing. The next slide, Elena. Yeah, and what is very important, I mean, you can write a lot of policy letters, and all those policy letters are really important, but they don't get any substance if you're not working together. So we're really into creating national and international ecosystem that really allow for implementation. So that's really our motto. The next slide. Yeah, and this is actually to give you an overview of those factors that are really important in digital transformation. First of all, and you probably heard a lot about it today, there are some key technologies that are really crucial for digital transformation. And the most important ones that we are using right now in a national and international perspective are artificial intelligence and blockchain. We uh, we actually and what we make use of are resources such as data. Data are really crucial to almost all the applications, and of course to safeguard those data. Uh, we try to create platforms, cooperating platforms, but also data platforms. And the one on top is really what we are here for, the public values and human rights. The next slide, Elena. And we actually have three policy areas. First of all, people are crucial to us. And we try to do it in a more useful way. When I started working, we really only handed out paper to people. And what we do right now is more public polls, but also games in order to make people aware of how important it is to keep up digitally. And we actually have dilemma games. Uh, we created a Donald Duck for kids, and actually grown-ups like it too. And what we also use, and that's actually, those are our instruments, we use innovation procurement instruments. One of the bottlenecks in the public sector is really that you have all these procedures in place. And there's a lot that you can do. But if you don't use the right tender instruments, then it's so hard for innovative SMEs to get in touch with public authorities. And what we also use, and those are really different type of instruments, um, technology impact assessments. We use AI impact assessments and codes, so that if you are developing as a private or public partner um, digital solutions, that you actually have those guidelines in place. And if we do experiment, we do it mostly public privately. And in the Netherlands, we have quite a few, and our state secretary actually pointed that out. We have quite a few public-private partnerships, like the Netherlands AI Coalition and the Dutch Blockchain Coalition. Um, and we also, together, or just as a public sector, we want to challenge the market. And we do that in many different ways. And we also support use cases. Remember, I told you learning by doing. And one of our major instruments is actually small business innovation research, where you allow innovative companies to come up with solutions for the public sector. Next slide, Elena. Yeah, and this is actually also uh, the whole network that you are seeing. Um, we, um, we are really focusing on European partnerships as well. We have the European and the Dutch strategy in place. We have our investment programs. Um, uh, we are launching, and this is actually the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate who is responsible. We are launching an investment program on AI. And as I told you, we work in those coalitions. And testing, experimenting, those are really crucial. Next slide, please. Yeah, and what we always say is that we like to do it, and it's a great term, the quadruple helix. Um, we are cooperating together with business, knowledge institutes, government, and citizens. And the citizens, as I told you, in a very playful and a way that attracts them, also in labs. The next one, please, Elena. And one of those in Amsterdam, where we would have been today if it would be a normal day, is actually the International Center of Artificial Intelligence in Amsterdam. It was launched April 2018, and they have quite a few labs with private companies uh, like Elsevier or Boss. And there is also a civic lab which was launched in 2020. And as a ministry, we are cooperating with them as well. And they're looking into solutions to empower citizens. And it's also a combination of researchers and daily practice. So that's one fine example. The next one, Elena. And what we also have is uh, this playful interaction. What I just told you also, the tech impact assessments and the Donald Duck that was launched quite some time ago last year, and which was quite successful. It's been used in schools, and it makes kids aware of what artificial intelligence really is. The next one, Elena. Yeah, and we have all those instruments on key technologies. And what we are doing right now is developing those instruments uh, with other European cities and countries. We are cooperating with quite a few countries in Europe and also with Singapore. And right now, most of the instruments are still paper, but we like to have them online. Next one, Elena. Yeah, and what we actually do is on innovation procurement. What we actually do together with our expertise center on procurement, Piano, we developed an online application with all the different instruments on procurement. And what a lot of people are thinking is actually that procurement starts when the tendering process is starting. But that's not the way it is. You know, long before you start tendering, it's important as a public sector that you are interacting uh, with private companies, knowledge institutes, so that you really know exactly what is the state of the art. And for private companies and knowledge institutes, it's really important to know what kind of issues can be addressed. And that really broadens the perspective of both parties. So we have all kinds of instruments, and some of them are really uh, connected to the tendering process, like a competitive dialogue. You have all these instruments that allow you to have a dialogue, or the pre-commercial procurement, but also how to set up a market consultation. And right now we are actually looking into refining it for key technologies. The next one, Elena. Yeah, you see a lot of experimentation in the public sector. And a lot of people are asking us, you know, what do we have to think of when we are looking into the public sector? And the unique situation in the public sector is that it's not really one line of business. There are a lot of different activities that can benefit from digital transformation. And those, of course, are it can be more, you know, the internal organization, optimizing your resources, or doing your maintenance in a more effective and efficient way. And a fine example is actually when we do um, maintenance of roads or public spaces, and we can actually view with satellite data what the current situation is. And rather than go there physically twice a year, you can actually see it 24/7, and it can be analyzed using AI. And one other line of business which is really crucial to cities, but also to the Netherlands as a ministry, is tailor-made services. We all know the booking.coms and all those internet providers. Um, and we see that citizens, they expect the same from our public services. So we're also introducing chatbots and all kinds of technologies to improve our services. And we are very much inclined these days to include citizens and to see what their customer journey is, rather than to take our own process for granted and take that as a starting point. We try to see, hey, what's happening when you're moving or retiring, and what kind of organizations are involved in that. Another one is actually all the work that the police does, you know, detection of cold cases or fraud. Those are activities where you can benefit a lot from technologies like AI or forecasting. So that's actually a little overview of where we have use cases in the public sector. The next slide, please, Elena. Thank you. Yeah, and I want to give you a few examples, you know, because it always works when you know what it's all about. And I really like this use case. It's an AI use case on poverty reduction. These days, and actually, COVID has made it more urgent. In the Netherlands, as a country that wants to take care of its people, we have a lot of packages for what we call poor people. Um, but it's really hard to know who is in poverty and who's not. It's not like you can point somebody out and say, hey, yeah, of course, when you have a lower income. But we actually see that in all different categories we are people, we see people in trouble, and very often we come across them when they're already in major difficulties. So what we actually want is to predict poverty, so we can be far more action oriented before they get into problems, and to give them a more personalized service than rather financial package which we give to a lot of people. And right now we're working together with our statistical agency and the city of Amsterdam and Heerlen and in the Netherlands AI Coalition to come up with a system to predict poverty on the short and the longer term. The next one, Elena. Yeah, the next one is also an interesting one. We actually at the ministry have an innovation budget, which allows public authorities to come up with ideas and to work together and also with SMEs. And one of their cases is actually maintenance of public space, which costs quite a lot of money. And we really want our city to look clean and healthy. And what we actually use is systems to predict where you really have to do um, some work in maintenance. So we actually optimize resources and we give signals uh, from different places in, in the cities, and that can, you know, actually be a way to tailor-made the maintenance. And what we also are in actually preparing right now is maintenance of trees, which is a very delicate one because you have to see whether they have diseases and all kinds of um, occurrences that you want to prevent. The next one, Elena. Yeah, that's actually we have different instruments, which is quite interesting. Different instruments where we can actually challenge the market. And we use hackathons. Well, I don't have to explain to you what a hackathon is. The pressure cooker for companies to come up with solutions. We also use pre-commercial procurement, the two-phase innovation competition, startup in residence, and I already mentioned that the innovation budget, which allows projects to look for finance. Next slide, please, Elena. Yeah, and this is actually the largest hackathon in the Netherlands and probably in Europe is Odyssey. And I give you some snapshots of last year when it was still in Groningen. This year they have a completely different approach, of course, in this COVID area. They have Odyssey Momentum, which is actually kind of a platform where you can develop your solutions. So that's really one to look forward to. And we are in there as a ministry with a track on digital identity. Previously, there was a working shop on that topic. Next slide, please, Elena. Yeah, and this is an instrument that we have been using for quite a few times, since 2004 in the Netherlands, Small Business Innovation Research. And recently we had two tenders, one on AI in the public sector, and we had some very interesting uh, solutions there. And it was actually quite successful because what you see in this type of competition, that it's not just interesting for companies, but it's also that they the public authorities were very much working together with those companies, and for them it was almost a change in their organization because they have to change too. And this year we have a new one. We actually launched it a week ago, and that one is actually on inclusion and lifelong learning, a topic which is really important when it comes down to digitalization. So maybe you want to have a look at it. And if you're from a business, it might be an opportunity for you. Next slide, please, Elena. Yeah. And we also have another program, which is Startup in Residence. And that's a program which originally also started in the city of Amsterdam. And we joined a few years ago. And we are having different challenges, some of them even on COVID, um, where startups, and you really have to be a startup to enter this one. You can get 25,000 euros to come up with a solution for a societal challenge. And what we also do is connect it later on to a public authority. We try to do that from the start, but we really want startups to have an outlook on working together with a public authority, where it's really hard to get into. And then the next one. Yeah, this is the last one. I already mentioned it. We have a reasonable budget here of 18 million euros. And we launched a very successful tender this summer, and there will be one again next year. And we really like it because we have those very different instruments. Some of them are for startups, the other ones are more for SMEs, and this budget is actually for public authorities also working together with business. So that is our last instrument. Thank you, Elena.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I think this is my last slide. So this is our overview. And now we are really into your presentation on the Torino City Lab.
Thank you, Marieke. So I try to display my presentation. So good afternoon to everybody. I'm Elena Deambrogio. I work at the City of Torino as a Smart City and EU Funds Head of Unit, and I'm responsible of Torino City Lab. But before going to that, just a picture of Torino, which already places Torino in the area of innovation, not only in industry, but also in arts, because we are trying more and more to link innovation and technologies also in public events through innovative lighting and drones, for example. So just 2 words about Torino. We are in the northwest part of Italy. We are the capital of Piedmont region. It is the 3rd city in Italy which is known all over Europe for its industrial economy, which of course faced a strong crisis in the 90s and tried to reconvert its activities, but maintaining its innovation DNA. Just a key facts about Torino. So we have about 900,000 citizens. We host in Torino about 100,000 students in our 2 public universities, the Polytechnic of Turin and the University of Turin. And we are more and more trying to attract and maintain, hopefully, and scale our startups, which now are about 329, and we have 74,000 companies all in all. And into our map, you can see our the sectors we are investing a lot in terms of support to innovation, which are positioned onto a map because we are trying also to localize research, applied research and innovation activities. So our main interests and trends of development now are about supporting testing of drones to enable new and innovative urban services. And we have an outdoor lab for testing with private businesses, of course. The health district, which is in the area of our hospitals. We have the innovation mile in the middle, which is called the Smart Road, and which is a 35 kilometers long street, which is used to test innovative, autonomous and connected driving. And then in the left, you will find the aerospace district, the science district, and the new competence center about Industry 4.0. So just to give you an idea what are our innovation trends from also an industrial point of view. But what I want to introduce is this initiative, this innovation initiative of our city, which is called the Torino City Lab, and which is an example of how we can deliver and support innovation in startups and industry at local level, co-producing, co-developing innovative solutions for urban life. So what is Torino City Lab? Torino City Lab is an open urban laboratory. The city of Torino has decided to offer itself and its assets, so its buildings, its streets, but also assets managed by public utilities such as lighting appliances, train stations, the airport itself, to test breakthrough solutions in any domain of public interest in order to co-develop and test the solutions for the city of the future. So what we aim is to attract frontier technologies and to test them at the service of quality of life at city scale, of course. So we are trying, of course, to attract solutions enabled by in these sectors, for instance, which are the main sector we are looking at: autonomously driven vehicles, drones, IoT and 5G, and of course, artificial intelligence and robotics. But what we mean by innovative solution of public interest, we are attracting businesses who want to test in real condition in our territory and through our support solutions which are not available on the market right now, or they need the testing to fully respond to the societal needs. So which are at the pre-commercial stage. We mean a product, technologies, organizational processes, services, even social innovations, or a mix of that. And of course, they should be of public interest. So they are responding to a challenge, an urban challenge, or an urban need. We have said in any domain of the smart city, so ICT, energy, environment, welfare and quality of life, economy, safety and security. And what we offer, first of all, we offer the city, as I have said, so the whole city area and its assets for testing. We offer municipal intangibles. So if a startup comes, we put the startup in contact with the right people, we help know the right processes, we put at disposal services and data. And as Torino City Lab, as my office, we act as a single internal contact point, both to speak with the right departments, the right colleagues, so the process owners, and with the relevant partner. And of course, we facilitate relationship within the local innovation ecosystem. What other tools we offer? International networks to show and scale the solutions, channel to involve interested communities of citizens and final users to be part of the co-development of the solutions, and through our partner, mostly partner in the research and innovation area, so research organization, we offer monitor tools to evaluate the social acceptability and the expected impact of the solutions. How startups can participate? So Torino City Lab is open to any business from Italy and abroad. Other public or private organizations can join the efforts in testing, but only if in partnership with companies. And of course, all subjects who speak with us, who test with us, have to show requirements for contracting with the public administration. They can apply on the free application side, so we have an always open, let's say, call for testing, and any startup, any business in any moment can candidate its own idea for a solution of urban interest. or they can participate to call for challenges. For instance, in the past years, in the past months, we had called for challenges in the area of learning technologies, or in the IoT for urban quality and monitoring, or call for challenges on how to develop circular and sharing solutions at the benefit of urban peripheries, for instance. The last call we launched was about finding emergency solutions for the COVID-19 emergency, and I will speak about it a little bit later. So we offer a simplified access to our assets. That's why the evaluation process is easier than usual, and we propose to give an admission for testing in maximum 60 days, if of course it doesn't need strong administrative authorizations. The proposal is evaluated in terms of innovativeness, in terms of technical feasibility, of economic and financial sustainability, involvement and social impact, and environmental sustainability. So there is an evaluation committee who check and rate the testing proposal, and then chooses which proposal can be followed up and accompanied by the public administration and by its partners. Today, Torino City Lab is a huge ecosystem. It has now more than 60 partners in different categories: industrial partners, research and innovation partners, public utilities, and the venture capital partners. And then we're investing a lot in involving international and scaling partners. We have 45 ongoing project and 5 challenges which have been issues. These are the main results we have achieved since the project launch in 2018. We have 2 dedicated testing areas. One is a dawn-free zone area, and the other one is the autonomous vehicle path I have showed you before. Then we have some sectoral ongoing labs: the IoT lab, the circular and sharing lab, the Edu lab about learning technologies, and we have several living labs funded through European projects, for instance, in the area of 5G, or in the area of environment and nature-based solution. And then we have hosted a huge solidarity and innovation campaign, which is called the Torino City Lab for the COVID-19 emergency. Currently, within the Open Lab, we have 30 ongoing testing, focusing mostly on smart mobility and drones-enabled smart city services. And what we are proud of is the enlarged partnership with big industry player, research and innovation organization, and with partners abroad. These are examples of our labs and communication about our labs: the Edu Lab, Dora Lab, and Smart Road circuit. And these are our ecosystem of partners, as I said, corporates such as Cisco, Intel, Intesa, and so on, research and innovation, utilities. And then we have a specific partnership about within linked to the Smart Road initiative, so specific partnership for co-developing innovative solutions in the field of automated and connected vehicles. And these are the partners which will come by end of 2020, so in order to deliver further co-development of innovation. In terms of innovation partnership, of course, we count with on the relationship with organizations already based in Turin, such as the European Training Foundation, the International Training Center, and the UniCRI. But of course, we are developing link with external international organization. Torino City Lab is a living lab which has been certified within the the European Network of Living Labs, first of all, and we are trying to get in contact with other accelerators such as Techstars or with other European organization. We have a strong partnership with ESA about attractive innovation with the satellite technologies. And then we have a specific relationship with other organizations in Ireland, in Israel, even at Harvard University. Next steps, we are going to work on new call for challenges on emerging technologies, and the targeted sector are innovative urban services, again, smart and autonomous mobility, and Industry 4.0. We are looking to develop further partnership with a focus on extra-EU, and of course to work on reinforce the Torino City Lab model through the implementation of a citywide technology infrastructure to improve demonstration project and wider citizen engagement. And we are working, and we have just applied to national funding to have demonstrative sites, dedicated spaces for Torino City Lab, which will be called Torino House of Technologies, which will be in strong relations with the upcoming National Center for AI, which should be located in Torino too. Of course, it is not everything, it is not easy. So I would like to share also some bottlenecks in supporting innovative testing. First of all, of course, current national regulation can obstacle or slow down testing and scaling of innovative solutions. So we are reasoning if with the national authorities we can work on possible sandboxes, and a new Italian decree has opened this opportunity, and we will try how to best profit from this. Second bottleneck, it is not easy to be the first customer as public authority of tested innovation. So what we are thinking about and what we are working is how to best link living lab activities with the procurement in line with EU and national procurement law, and how to best involve different vertical city departments in this process, so to gain all the market intelligence which is possible to trigger from this, from participating in co-development and testing activities. And then the hard involvement of final users and citizens, and the difficulty to show immediate local added value of frontier innovation. And finally, the biggest challenge is how to pass from testing to scaling. It is not an easy step, so what we should do, we will work to best link with venture capital partners, to open channels with other markets, and to work on innovation funding, dedicated funding. So I had some focus here, but I think that we ran out of time, so I go only to the AI case, but the slides will be of course available. So some examples also for us. Here in this case, we tested metropolitan area monitoring service using IoT sensors and drones by day and by night. You have a video also here. Or for instance, during the emergency, we tested face mask monitoring service, and we had analytics dashboards with city cameras as data sources, and AI technologies and algorithms to detect citizens' behavior with regards to phase 1 restrictions. Or we monitored the social distance in the same period. Torino is candidated to be the place of the central hub of the Italian Institute for Artificial Intelligence. So we are sure that for the city of Torino, this will be a strong challenge, and also an honor to be part of this innovation process. And here, because it's late and I would like to offer some times for a debating case, I only close with the image of Torino City Lab, the digital solidarity and innovation campaign of the municipality of Turin, which was launched during the COVID emergency phase 1, and which helped us not only to gather resources, free resources, and free innovative solutions for this bad period, but which also helped to develop a strong sense of community among Torino City Lab partners, among the city and among citizens. So that's there are some examples of what we co-developed. For instance, services in hospital with robots to allow people at hospital to speak with the parents at home, and also we try to develop teletrips for our students which cannot have the emotion of their yearly trip. That's all for me, and of course I'm available to discuss and confront further. We cannot hear you, Marieke.
Thank you so much for this interesting presentation, which gives fine examples of how a city like Torino works on innovation in different fields. And I think we wanted to also give the way to some questions and on maybe the challenges we have as a ministry or a city to attract the right solutions and to implement them. Are there any questions? I don't see any, I think, in the chat. No, because what we see at the ministry, and I think you must have it as a city as well. Eh? You were talking also about attracting the different departments in what you are doing as a city in the Torino City Lab. How does that work? Is it easy to involve them, or is it sometimes hard? Because, yeah, I'm really curious.
Yeah, it was hard, but then we try to proceduralize it. So we have identified one contact point in each department, which is innovation reference point. So we involve the right departments in each evaluation commission, and then when the testing starts, they are involved in each phases of the testing activities. So now involvement is easier and stronger. Of course, they are not dedicated only to innovation, so it is difficult for them and for us to follow up, but there is a growing interest, and we see already results in how these activities positively influence their work and also their procurement. So participating in testing activities is also helping in gather market intelligence, in knowing the trends in innovation, and in inform their current activities and procurement also.
So it's actually all also, developing their skills on procurement and interaction with the market and their market knowledge. That's interesting to hear. I think we have similar experiences that it works that way. And what I also saw in some of the challenges we did, for instance, the small business innovation research, that they were thinking much more clearly about the changes they have to go through, that they have to change their organization. And I thought that was really very beneficial, to have different skills in place, but also to think about, how can we actually make an organization that is valid for the future and that's future ready. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is also beneficial is a strong relationship with the external partners, which is also an opportunity for constant exchange, cross-sectoral exchange, and different skills. They are also invited to evaluation commissions, case by case, and they help us in evaluating the testing proposal, in following up testing activities, and on evaluating the results of these activities.
Oh, that's really good. So you really give them a chance to evaluate and to make improvements. And I also like that cross-sectoral aspect, what you are mentioning, because what I see is that in new technologies like AI and blockchain, it's far less restricted to certain sectors, and so that's really important. Um, do you see that as well? Do you also see that some of those companies are in different lines of businesses?
Yes, of course, because the application of AI is, of course, is a cross-sectoral by nature, and also it is important to have a cross-sectoral skills in order to understand how this can be combined and how they can help in added value.
Oh, yeah.
We are combining services. For instance, when we do analytics for police, for instance, we also have analytics for mobility or for managing public assets.
Yeah, exactly the same here. We had a fine example where somebody started out actually in traffic management, um, and they went into water management, which is still pretty close, but that's definitely the case. Yeah. So, uh, do you have any major plans for the future, or any wishes that you would have as Torino? I,
Uh, we would like to consolidate this model, and the major dream is to pass from testing to scaling. So to find a way to build Torino as one of the best places to come and stay. So not only to test, but to scale activities. And this is our aim, and what we are doing, not alone, because it is not a question which can be done only by the city authority, but within the ecosystem. So to build the best condition to work together and make startups come and stay and develop within the local ecosystem, of course.
yeah, that's what I like about cities. You have this economic outlook and also the societal challenges that you want to solve, and scaling up is always, the good part. And I think you really have an approach that allows for scaling up, and that's a great dream that everybody wants to come to Torino. Um, I hope and I think that people will be inspired by your example, and of course, I absolutely believe in the European way and the international way. We need each other, so I I thank everybody for their participation, and thank you too for your presentation.
Thank you to you, Marieke, and also for the very good example from the Netherlands. Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.